Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to invite the man himself, Inder Raj Ahluwalia.
I've seen this being done in the movies. Thank you very much for that rather nice build-up. One of the things I've liked about giving talks is that the person who introduces you says it all, which saves me time. I can get back to my whiskey. There is this saying, there's a saying in the world about aging and about longevity and about maturity. Well, let me tell you, there's something which is 3,000 years old and still young, and getting younger. Now, if you're a cosmetologist or if you're a beautician, you would get very interested. I'm neither. I'm just a humble travel journalist, but I got very interested when I heard this. And when I actually set foot into Jerusalem, I refused to believe that it was over 3,000 years old. And the reason was that it looked very refreshing. It looked very exuberant. You know, there's something called revitalization. Jerusalem to me looked very revitalized, but it's much more than 3,000 years old. And I was in those days fairly young man, and I also met a few women. Fortunately, they didn't have guns and so on. But nevertheless, I was very circumspect. And I was very lucky that the first person I met in Jerusalem was actually a rabbi. And he was very friendly, and he drank more wine than me, which doesn't happen every day. And we got talking, and I then realized that in the space of a few square kilometers, you have the three greatest religions of the world that were born, that were bred, and that thrived: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. 7-8 square kilometers, and you have three of the world's great pivotal religions that were born there and they coexist there. I kept telling myself, why has God plucked me and put me into a city like Jerusalem? I'm the last person who should be here, really speaking. But then the next day, I mean, you know, you fly into Tel Aviv and you're jet lagged, and distances are not too much in Israel. So the next day was another day, and I started to actually do my job, which is to absorb the city, absorb the culture, meet the people. And I had lunch with the rabbi again, and he was, when I met him on day 2, he had a different avatar. He was also a part-time guide. That was the first time in my life that I met a guide who was a man of religion and a man of tourism. In the last 20 years, I've met many, many people, because in tourism, you need to have God on your side. The rabbi was actually an excellent guide, and I was so privileged that he gave me a little insight into the Israeli way of life, into the Jewish way of life. And I found that when you learn, you respect. Respect comes from knowledge. And I still consider myself very blessed that my first 24 hours in Israel were a learning curve, and I learned a little bit about the Jewish people. I brushed up a little bit about Jewish history, and that put things beautifully into perspective for me as a travel journalist. And maybe some of my writing stemmed from that little knowledge that I got from a few people literally in my first 24 hours in that very beautiful country. You know, Jerusalem, in my opinion, I mean, when they took me to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and everything, fine, it's all there in history. We all know it. It's there in the brochures. It's there in the films. I mean, if you've seen Moses, if you've seen even the Ten Commandments, or if you've seen Ben-Hur, you get an insight into that. But being there is something very different. And as I said, I was pretty young, and I had more energy than I have now. And I found that Jerusalem in the evening took on a different avatar. I mean, it's like any other city. It's just that it is very holy. It is very, very, very historic. But nevertheless, it's quite an exciting city. In those days, they didn't have some of the museums that they have today. Um, I haven't seen some of the modern museums, but I did go and see one or two museums in those days. And when I went to the Wailing Wall, I had sort of read up about it. There was hardly any internet 20 years ago. There was very, very little information. Everything was in physical form in the brochures. But I read about the Wailing Wall, and I talked to a gentleman in my hotel about the Wailing Wall, and I came to know, and he said, how many pieces of paper did you slip into the wall? And I said, I didn't do any. And he said, well, you know, you missed out. So we did it the next day. And I then knew that this country may not be very big in terms of physical vastness. We live in India where everything is vast. But I, even then, managed to get a little insight that small is beautiful and small can be very deep and very impactful. And then subsequently, in my few days in the country, when I went down to the other corner, you know, to Eilat, which actually literally was only 70, 80 meters from the Egyptian border, and I saw the Red Sea, I was a little staggered. I never knew that there was so much in a strip of land which is actually so small. We went out for dinner in Eilat, and the restaurant was actually a moored ship. And suddenly I got a burst of Hindi, Punjabi, and there was a young, couple of young Indian guys who were working in the restaurant. And they were very happy to see my turban, and they said, oh, hello ji, welcome, welcome, and this, that, and the other. So suddenly I got Indian food in 20 minutes. And I realized, my God, the world is shrinking. Actually, that food was only for me, but being a very large-hearted sort of man, I shared it with the entire group. There were 11 of us. One gentleman from the group is actually sitting right there grinning at me, but he ate the most actually. He ate up all my food. But that's all right, that's part of life. And then I also realized that there was no proper visa system in those days. It had just started, it was early days, 20 years ago. And I realized the potential of the country. From there, when I went to the Sea of Galilee, Subhash just mentioned a kibbutz, and actually I had the pleasure to stay in a kibbutz hotel. It was called the Nof Genosar. And it was such a special time, because just 6 months before we were there, they had found a boat in the Sea of Galilee. It was found by two brothers who were fishing. And while fishing, they struck something, and when they scooped it out, it turned out to be a wooden boat. And they realized that this was a very old boat. And anyway, then they excavated it. It is today in a museum over there in the Nof Genosar. And the theory is that that was the boat that Jesus used to cross the Galilee. And you can imagine a boat that was 2,000 years old. I actually saw it, I actually touched it. That's Israel for you. You pick up a stone and it's biblical. We went to the Dead Sea, and contrary to what you may think, the Dead Sea is hardly dead. Actually, it's full of life. You've got gazelles grazing over there, you've got wildlife, you've got cats, you've got lots of pretty women. But I'm a very serious sort of journalist, and the Dead Sea is anything but dead. But just the fact that it's the lowest point on the planet, 400 meters below sea level, is something to write about, isn't it? And I was very lucky because I managed to get so much fodder for my writing. I mean, imagine standing at the lowest spot on the planet. From there, when we went to the Sea of Galilee, we went back. They said the Sea of Galilee is only 200 meters below sea level, and I was very disappointed because I had now set up very high standards, etc. But every day we saw a different part of Israel. And every day I met locals, young men, young women, people from the tourism board, a couple of ladies from El Al. And what struck me was that they were very, very natural and friendly people. It's almost as if they hadn't been to a tourism school, which is, it is a compliment, because they were raw, they were untouched, and I realized that if you say the right things to the right people, you get invited to their homes for dinner. So I said all the right things to all the Jewish ladies I met, and I did get invited to a home for a dinner, and I will never ever forget that. I had no idea of that kind of Jewish hospitality, The first thing I asked was, is it a festival night? And they said, no, 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 it's not a festival night. So that was good enough for me to drink some more wine. They have very good wine, and you know, my experience of wine is that when somebody offers you wine, you don't just drink it for yourself, you drink it for others, whatever that's supposed to mean. You drink it to make people happy. Well, anyway, I drank a lot, and they were happy, I was happy, and you know, everybody was happy. But after that, I started to write on the Israeli wines. And then I visited some of the vineyards, and I was amazed to see that in the middle of the desert, you have wine cultivation, you have grapes, you have black grapes, you have white grapes. They've even got a hybrid grape in Israel, which is now being, it's sort of, you know, jealously guarded. So I was getting more and more impressed, and then somebody told me, did you try the ice cream in Israel? And I said, no, I didn't. And they said, don't you know we have the best ice cream in the world? And that was when I was about to come back, so I didn't get to try it, but subsequently I did. And I was quite amazed that here is a country with a very limited population, which has so much, absolutely amazing. It was like a little rock, you know, an unpolished diamond. So I did my little bit and I polished a bit of that diamond, which means I drank more of the wine and I tasted more of the food. And I realized that some of the Jewish hospitality is very genuine, very traditional, and very beautiful. And Israel, in my opinion, carries the burden of history. Believe me, they have a lot of history. It carries the burden of heritage. They have a lot of heritage. It carries the burden of culture. And it carries the burden of excellent food, excellent wine, and very friendly people. So happened I managed to visit the country after exactly 18 to 20 years. A couple of the young women I had met were no longer young women. In fact, I was scared to ask them about themselves because I thought they'll introduce me to their daughters and their sons and things like that. But the fact of the matter is that I never knew that I wouldn't go back for so many years. And when I went back, I thought everything would have changed. But actually, very little had changed. In Masada, they have a new tourist information center. They have a sound and light show, which they didn't have 20 years ago. But Jerusalem today is the way Jerusalem was 20 years ago. And that is the way Jerusalem was thousands of years ago. And I mean that as a compliment. I would really urge all of you to go there. You know, it's not the kind of place where you start shooting guns or, you know, doing other things. But I can assure you that if you talk to someone on the street, he'll help you. And if you say that you're lost, it's not easy to get lost there. But if you are lost, they'll help you. And if you start talking to them about philosophy and history, and if they feel that you're respectful of their culture, they'll go out of their way to tell you about their country. That's what I like the most. They are so proud of their country. Subhash Goel just said that, and I could not agree more. And sometimes I feel that we in India, we are the most beautiful people in the world, I think. We have the most beautiful country. I wish we were a little more proud of our own country. So, you know, when we talk about teaching, we should also be humble and talk about learning. So we can learn something from Israel. What I learned from Israel is that there are beautiful people all over the world. And you don't have to be dead in the Dead Sea. And you don't have to eat Indian food in Eilat. And you don't have to go and wail in the Wailing Wall, because there is a reason for it. You can actually rejoice over there. The locals will help you to laugh over there. Because the Israelis want to smile, and they want to laugh, and they want to learn. And a person like me, I have gained so much from my travel. God has given me so much, I will never be able to repay Him. Of course, I punish the world through my writing, and I punish the world through my talks. But that's because there is this sadistic element in me, and I don't know anything else. Apart from writing and giving travel talks, I don't do anything else. But I do my bit when I go to Israel. I drink that lovely wine. I make conversation. I eat their food. And at the end of the day, I would love you to do the same thing, because there are some guys there and some gals there who are very beautiful and they're very friendly, and I think they're just waiting for you. So I think what you need to do is grab that passport, go into the embassy. It's not that bad. The security is there. There's no doubt about it. But security is a way of life. We all know that. And in case you have any doubts about what you can do and what you can't do, well, just give me a call and I'll come with you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Inder Raj Ahluwalia. As they say in Africa, let's walk together, and as I say in the Taj, take me to Israel.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the last part of this evening's program, and that is to invite our Director General. Before I invite him to come and say and address us, I would like to introduce Mr. Amir Halevi to all of you. I have the pleasure to introduce to you the Director General of the Israel Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Amir Halevi. Mr. Halevi graduated from the Tel Aviv University in Geography and is also a law graduate from the Bar Ilan University. He is the 15th generation old resident of Jerusalem, so he's a hardcore Jerusalemite. He served as a council member in the Tel Aviv City Council and was associated with communications, finance, planning and construction sectors. He served as the Deputy Mayor of Tel Aviv from 2001 to 2003. He has been associated with several projects during his professional tenure, but one of the most important that brings him a lot of pride is the cycling project in Tel Aviv. He served as chairman of the National Sports Center in Tel Aviv. In 2013, he was appointed as the Director General of the Israel Ministry of Tourism. Friends, it is my honor and privilege to call upon the Director General of the Israel Ministry of Tourism to please come and address us all. Ladies and gentlemen, Amir Halevi.
Shalom, good evening. I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you, Judah. You're doing a wonderful job, and we can say it with Hassan. I'm very happy to see all of you here. And this was a big decision to decide that we have a specific office here in India, and you did it. Thank you very much. First of all, to the two gentlemen, to Abash Gavil and Indir Raji, it was very exciting, and maybe we have to sit later, you will be our presenter. You did it wonderful. I'm not going to talk about Israel because you did it better. So thank you very much, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I want to ask you, after that I have seen that most of you haven't been to Israel, Judah and Hassan, we have to think about bigger budget because we need some more to bring to Israel in the next few years. And we will do it. We'll try to do it because we want you to come to see what you heard about and you have seen about Israel. This is the most important thing, that we want you to come to Israel, and we will try to do it, and we will support, and hopefully we can do it soon. I want to tell you something that I don't understand. In Israel, we are a small country geographically, as you understood, and also with the number of the people that live in Israel. Only 8 million. It's like a village here in India. 8 million. You know how many Israelis traveling to India every year? More than the number of Indians that are traveling to Israel. Why? Because India is very, very popular in Israel. I can tell you, my oldest son is right now in the northern border in Lebanon, between Israel and Lebanon, in the IDF, the Israeli defense. And all of his friends dreaming about the day that they can travel to India, with all of the backpacks. So I want, 20 years ago I came here, and it was like a small accident, because after my army service, it was popular to go to South America. So I went for 6 months to South America. I spent there 6 months, went to the college, you heard, business, this and this. And then after 10 years with my wife, I took the opportunity and we came for 1 month trip to India. We did it, we fall in love, we understand why the kids want to go to India. And also we have another problem. After 1 year, the family, the parents, has to come to India to bring them back to Israel. So now the deal is that you have to come to Israel, and we hope that you can do it soon, because I met yesterday in Jerusalem. We just came this morning. And yesterday I met our ambassador, Daniel Carmon, the Israeli ambassador to India. And he told me about a lot about the background, about the relationship between Israel and India, about the history, both of us independence for almost 70 years, less than 70 years. And I understood how the relationship is so strong between the prime ministers. Your Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that's why the ambassador is not here with us, is in Israel, and she just met our prime minister and some of the ministers and the president. And we're really happy for that, because we feel that there are a lot of things that we can do together. With the business, we are doing a lot. With the agriculture, with the tourism, we already started. We just finished in 2015. It was a record number, thanks to our team here. With your cooperation and partnership, we increased the number with 13 years, and hopefully this year we are going to be with another record year, because we are going to be with bigger campaign, triple budget this year for our ministry here. Triple, we are going to be with almost $3 million to be here for campaigns, for a marketing agreement. We're sure that we will do the right thing to support you, to bring more journalists to Israel to visit our country. You know, this is the Holy Land, the startup nation, the land of creation. We have a lot to see. You just heard about what we have to see. But I want to tell you another thing. You know, I just heard about Jerusalem, that it's the same like it was 20 years ago. Not all of Jerusalem. I just, a few weeks ago, probably you heard a little bit about the situation in Israel. So I spent, it was one night in the market of Jerusalem. It's called Machne Yehuda. Not Judah, the same. Machne Yehuda market, it's the market of Jerusalem. It was overnight, they invited all the CEO, the Director General of the government, to meet the people in the market. There are more than 30 bars and restaurants. Around the clock, everything is open. Wonderful wine, beers, local beers and international, imported beer. Crowded. And in the CNN, you'll hear that in Jerusalem something happened in the morning. Believe me, you just said security. So in India, even in the hotel, you need to pass the luggage. In Israel, in the hotel, you don't need to pass the luggage. But, all over the world. And it's not only security, Each one of the Israelis that traveled to Nepal last year, it recognized that you will have an earthquake or tsunami in Mexico, or attack in Paris, or in California a few months ago. That's the world. But I can tell you, in Israel, it is very safe to stay in Israel. I spent 3 years in California, 10 years ago. My kids cannot go by themselves to walk to meet friends or to go to the beach or something like that. In Tel Aviv, they can go to the beach till midnight by themselves. When they are teenagers, they can go after that to the shopping mall, and we have a lot. They can go to sit outside in the restaurant overnight, around the year, go to the beach. We have the best water temperature in the world. In Israel, the water temperature in the summer is 30. In the winter, we have the Dead Sea, the Red Sea. It's still wonderful temperature that you can have fun there. We just heard about Eilat, but we are going to be there also with international airport, and hopefully You will have also the option to fly, direct flight to our desert and the southern airport, Dead Sea, Red Sea. It's between the Dead Sea and the Red Sea. So all over Israel, you know, from time to time something can happen. We have a lot of experience. We know how to deal this kind of situation. No crime in Israel. No crime, almost no crime. You can feel safe everywhere. In Jerusalem, women can jog at the park after sunset and even later by herself. Few months ago, you know, when we had the TAFI conference, you have seen it. After that, you know, a few weeks of some events, but we had a big, huge conference in Israel, the space conference, with more than 2,500 people from all over the world that come from NASA and from all over the world, even India, a huge Indian delegation. So just come to Israel. We will support and assist whatever you need, because we really feel that this is the country that once in a lifetime you have to be with us. You know, we are trying to do the best and to do all the efforts that the visa process will be easier, and we will do it, and it's already better than it was a few years ago. But soon it will be even easier. We know, and we checked it, no problem with the visa stamp. If you are going to Israel, you're visiting Israel, no problem with all of the friendly countries, Arab friendly countries. We have a lot of collaboration. Many people, businessmen, tourists are coming to Israel from the Gulf countries, are coming to Israel for the hospitals, for business, and check it, you know, before you are leaving with our office here, but this is the situation. So don't worry, you can come to Israel and feel free and ask our team every question that you need. Another thing that, you know, we are here, our main goal is to create another airline, to bring another airline, Indian airline, that will fly, direct flight to Israel. Right now, we have El Al, they're doing a very good job. We just came with El Al this morning, and they have, and the CEO of El Al was supposed to be here, but he has something that he has to stay in Israel. And we have this year 4 direct flights from Mumbai to Tel Aviv. We want you to help us, and together with the airlines to think what do you need, that we'll have also direct flight either from Delhi or from Mumbai with one of the Indian airlines. This is very important. It will give us big capacity, competition that it's very good, and we know what's the meaning of competition. So you are from some of you from the business. We are the government and the ministry want to support with promotion and marketing. And I hope that we can do it soon, but this is, I think that both of us, that's what we want. So I'm really happy to be here. I was very impressed from the, Indian atmosphere, that's why both countries, we have very good relationship. We feel very good with the Indian people. We have a lot of collaboration, and I'm really very happy to be with you. Thank you very much for coming, and hope to see you soon in Israel. Thank you very much. Good night.